In this new episode, we speak with Cathy Tarr, founder of the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation that searches for missing hikers. And she's come back on the show today here, Lance, to tell us about two disappearances from the same geographical area. And she's really kind of breaking news to us because these two missing people knew each other. So what do you think of this conversation?
Well, first, I loved it that she reached out to us in the first place because we met her at CrimeCon. This is the gift of CrimeCon that just keeps on giving. We meet somebody, we get them on the show, they talk about what they're doing in this world here, what their main objectives are. So she focuses on finding missing hikers, and she goes into the details of why it's important to say that this is a missing hiker, not a missing person. So getting into all of that is really educational, but then we've established a relationship now. So she feels comfortable talking to us about these two disappearances that, in her words, she's not investigating them. She just saw that they were getting no coverage, and there's just something weird here in regards to both of these people independently missing, but they knew each other, and they went missing within 3 months of each other, and they all sort of came from the same circle of people in that area. So yeah, there is something really interesting and eyebrow raising here. And she does such a great job detailing out what could have been a super convoluted story, but she goes through it so well. So I can't wait for people to listen to this.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And so the missing folks that we are speaking about are Melissa Lane, who went missing on June 15th, 2020, and Roy Prifogle, who went missing on March 4th, 2020, all from the Idyllwild, Pine Cove, California area. And if you have any information, please call the Riverside County Sheriff's Office at 951-955-2450.
All right, we're going to break real quick for commercial, and we will be right back with Cathy Tarr to speak about the disappearances of Melissa Lane and Roy Prifogle. Be sure to follow us on social media at MissingCSM.
Welcome back to the podcast, Cathy Tarr of Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Tim. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Yeah, I love the fact that we just said having you on again.
Yeah.
We met at CrimeCon, you came on, and this is the second time, so that's like, 100% return on investment right there. So we're just playing with house money at this point. You're more than welcome to come back on anytime you want. You emailed with this really wild double disappearance that might actually be more than what it is. But before we get into all of that, can you refresh the listeners' memories and let them know who you are and a little bit about your background?
Yes. So my name is Cathy Tarr. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the Fowler O'Sullivan Foundation. This is a nonprofit that exclusively searches for missing hikers. We work with families that may have a missing hiker, but one of our biggest things on the other side of that is that we promote hiker safety by getting tools into the hands of hikers that could save their lives. So that's what my foundation does, and this particular story comes in with a missing hiker.
And just real quick on that, what kind of tools are you talking about when you said you give tools to hikers to, sort of assist them?
So we're just about to give away 13 Garmin InReaches. These are devices that if you carry with you and you fall and get hurt or you get lost, you just simply push a button that goes out to the center, which will give your exact, or at least very close to coordinate. And so when search and rescue will be contacted, they're not looking for you, they're actually going to you, which could be the difference of life and death in many, many situations. A lot of people sometimes don't want to put out that money. When we give out the Garmin InReaches, we give them with activation and up to 7-month subscriptions. And so we have another tool we just started. It's called the Reco Tag. This is a tag that you can put on your backpack And if there's a 911 call saying my daughter's missing, she was hiking in this area, and she has a record tag on her backpack, well, the counties nearby, including this county in California, Riverside, has a helicopter unit, and they will take that out and it will ping. So they can find them. So we really are trying to find ways the search and rescue can find these missing hikers, so we don't even have to get involved. So that's our goal.
That's really great. Some preventative
Yes.
missing person work. Really great stuff. And can you tell us, when did you begin this nonprofit?
So officially at the end of 2020.
Fantastic. And the story we're going to speak about today, you really must have hit the ground running, because this was a story from 2020 with several people missing in a very small geographical area.
Yeah, well, actually 2020 being what it was that year, I actually did have some medical issues. So I really didn't get into searching until early 2021. So, but these stories were still in the newspaper in 2021 about all these missing people in this small community. And they had their pictures and everything. And I started reading about them because I had come to this town, which is Idyllwild, California. It's a small mountain town in Riverside, California. And I was coming here to search for David O'Sullivan, who was a missing PCT hiker from 2017. So I was here searching for him, reading the newspaper and seeing all these missing people. And I started looking at them to see if there's any that we could help with, because we can only search for missing hikers, not someone that's a skier or someone that just goes missing. And we actually did find one, Rosario Garcia, and February of 2021, we took that case on and found her within 24 hours. So we were very happy to have a good start on that. So her family is very appreciative. So then we also saw another hiker named Roy Prifogle, and that's where we got involved into this particular story.
All right. And since we've introduced Roy, do you mind going into this particular story a little bit further? Because this is what you sent to us. And I think you actually said this one makes my head spin. So I feel like we're going to kind of work this all out together. And
yes.
If we happen to kind of trip up on our words and get caught in the minutia, that's totally cool.
Okay. I can't remember, again, this is late 2020, early 2021, but I do know that somehow we had gotten this case of Roy Prifogle. So Roy was 52 years old when he went missing. He had been in the Idyllwild Pinecone area, I believe, all his life. And in fact, he knew the area very well that he went missing into. His family owned a very large lodge near this area. So growing up as a child, he was always in this area, searching out caves and things like that. But before we get to where that day he went missing, he had a stroke. And his family began to tell me that, he was forgetting things and he was getting lost and things like that. So that may play into this. But what happened is it was March 5th, 2020. His sister reached out to him that day around 11 a.m. and he responded. So everything's good at 11 a.m. At around 1 p.m., there's also some communication. So we know at 1 p.m., he's still okay. So he had this roommate, and he told his roommate that he was going to go hiking. And I do not have the exact time on that, but I do know that he took pictures at 4:45 p.m. on that day down in this trail where his backpack was found. So the picture was very odd. It was a picture of just water on a stream or a river, small river or big stream. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was just a picture of that. And so we actually found the area that he took that picture in, oddly enough. So we found the area and we tried to make sense of it. In fact, he took 3 pictures of it, and that was it. Those are the only pictures he took that day, 4:45 p.m. So no communication from then until almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And that's where things get a little questionable on my end.
Real quick, just I have to ask this question before it gets lost. You said that he had a stroke. I'm just curious, how old was he when he had the stroke, and how long before he disappeared did he have the stroke?
So I want to give an exact on that, but I want to say within a year that he went missing.
And how old was he?
50. I have it written down here.
So he's young. I mean,
Yeah, he's in his 50s.
50s.
It's very common for men in their 50s, honestly, to have heart trouble. I learned from my doctor. So take care of yourselves. So anyhow, yeah, he was 52, I believe. Yeah, when he went missing. 51, 52 in that way. So yeah, you're right. He's young. He knows this area. This particular trail, when I heard the name of the trail, which is the Webster Trail, I had never heard of it. I've been in Idyllwild for quite some time, since 2017, searching for David O'Sullivan. I'm like, where is the Webster Trail? So it's near this town called Pine Cove. It is part of Idyllwild, but a few miles outside of Idyllwild. And that's where Roy grew up and also where he was living at the time. There is a small convenience store there that has a gas station. And there are a lot of rumors going around that, yeah, he was there around 6 o'clock at night. But through the sheriff's office, we were able to see that, no, it was much earlier, between 10 and 11 a.m., that he was at that station. His car was found, but not at the trailhead. His car was found within Pine Cove. I did not personally see it, but everyone tells me it was parked oddly. And they brought bloodhounds in and took gloves that was inside the vehicle, and they didn't go anywhere with that. There was no scent leaving the car. So that didn't work out. But going back to that day that he went missing, we know at 4:45 he was down in there. The Webster Trail is a trail that goes down. When you go to the trailhead, you go down a lot, like a lot of elevation you're losing going down in there. And so it's always hard that when you go down in there and you're searching all day and then you have to, get yourself back up. It's a very hard trail to be on. But he knew it. And so he was down there at 4:45. We know that. The next thing we know is that near 1 a.m., he sends his roommate a text and says that he is near the end of Webster Trail, and that he's going down he ran out of water and he's going down to get more water, and then he'll be back in 3 or 4 hours. And the text on the actual text that he had sent his roommate was very gibberish. I mean, we could figure out what he was trying to say, but obviously it's dark. Was he having an episode? And if he's having an episode, why would he go all the way back down to get water to come all the way back up? Now, his backpack was found because he left his phone in the backpack, and it's off the trail. And if he had gone to get water from where his backpack was found, it's not an easy jolt to get back down there to get water and then get back up to your backpack. And if you're having cognitive issues anyhow, maybe he couldn't even find his backpack again. But he did drop it. It was there. And so they were able to find a backpack through pings, and that's how they found that, because it was not right off the trail. It was pretty deep in. And so that was curious to me because, first of all, I've been down there many times. It is certainly not going to take me 3 or 4 hours to get from that backpack to Pine Cove. There's no way it would take that long. Maybe an hour at the most, at the very, very most. But he was going down to get water and come back up. And I'm just like, why don't you just hike out for an hour and then get water? It just didn't make sense to go through all of that since he was already down there by the water, and now he needs water. And the time is odd, like almost 1 o'clock in the morning, you're still out there. So if you're out there 4:45 p.m., what were you doing between then and almost 1 a.m. in the morning? So he sends a text message, and that's the last anyone basically heard of him. The roommate, I believe, replied saying okay, or maybe she was sleeping. I don't know. But I do know that the next morning she wakes up and Roy's not there. And she deletes the text.
She deleted the text?
She deleted the text he sent her.
Oh.
And that was odd. And so the other thing is, through the sheriff's office, they were able to get her phone and go through everything, and also Roy's phone and go through everything. They didn't see anything suspicious, but I felt like hey, my roommate didn't make it back. Maybe I should call his sister. Maybe I should reach out to his friends. Maybe I should say, hey, Roy texted me at 1 a.m. and he's still not back. He should have been back by now. That's not what happened. She just deleted the text. And so then the family starts to hear, the sister, Roy's sister here. So she comes into Idyllwild. Roy's daughter comes into Idyllwild. What happened is Roy's sister called 911 as a missing person, not as a missing hiker. And that does make a difference, because as a male in 50s, we can't find them. Well, they're not too concerned about that. But if you have someone who went out hiking and they didn't return, and there's a little bit more concern on that end. So at some point, search and rescue comes out, sheriff's office, and they start searching for him in this particular area. And they did a really great job. I mean, they searched quite a bit. It's very thick in there. One of the other things that's in there, which is one of the reasons why this is not an active case for us. We left this case because of some things that just didn't look right. But one of the reasons we stopped going down in there is we were walking into groves. We were starting to see marijuana groves down in there. And I'm just like, whoa. The first time we walked into one, I had a bunch of people with me. And I'm like, is anyone carrying? Like, that's the first thing I said. Is anyone carrying? Because this is not good. Like, it freaked me out. And we literally walked through it to get to where we were going to search. And then we came out, and I'm like, I can't put other people's lives in danger. I can't take people down in there like that. So it wasn't the first time we ran into a grove.
One quick question, sorry. And the danger from that is coming from the possibility that there might be people guarding those groves?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We never came across anyone, but that didn't mean they weren't there or whatever. I'm sure that the people that were growing down there were pretty upset that Roy went missing, because it brought in a lot of people down in there, search and rescue and that. And now people are finding their groves. And, it's a place where rarely anyone would ever go down in there. Like, it's not a popular place. And so that's why they grow down in there. Now, whether they're doing that today, I have no idea. I haven't been down in there in years.
Let's just say they're not. We'll just say it right here publicly that there's no grows happening there right now.
Nothing.
It's grows, not groves? I am so out of it.
Yeah.
Grows. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, but before we proceed, can I just ask a little bit about the terrain? Because I know this is kind of I don't want to say mountainous exactly, but is that a decent description, or what is this terrain like?
So it's not on the mountain. It's actually further down the base of the mountain. So you're not up in a mountain. Again, this trail goes way down in by a few, I can't say for sure, but I want to say 1,000 feet or more. You're hiking down to get down into this area. And it's not very popular. It's very thick with mandazia bushes, and it's just very thick down in there. So there are some places that there's no way someone could get into, because they have like these thorns or something on the mandazia bushes, and it's not pleasant to get stuck in them. So there are some places where we didn't even have to look because no one could get in there. We did do some searching. We did search. The family wanted to see where the backpack had been left. They had asked search and rescue to take them down there, and they wouldn't. They said it was too dangerous. And at first I thought, well, it's not dangerous at all. I can show you where it's at. Now looking back, they probably meant it's too dangerous because there might be people down there growing. I mean, that may have been what they meant by that.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
And a thank you to our sponsors. Back to the program.
This particular town in Idyllwild, a rumor can run fast. And so it took quite a bit to get facts, which we did from the sheriff's office and things like that. But sometimes something would come up and I'm like, yeah, can we actually say that happened? And many times we couldn't. So I just went off the facts, and, he did go missing. His backpack was down in there. The pictures was interesting because I thought, was he down there looking for a place to start a grow? And did he interfere with someone down in there? Did he run into someone down in there? And did somebody else send that message? These are things I don't know. But I do know that it makes no sense to take 3 pictures of that one particular area. And then his sister said, well, why would he do that? If he wants weed, he can just come over here. We have weed. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe not. I don't know. So, and that's one of the things when we have cases, we do everything we can to try to figure out who this person is, because we've never met them. We don't know who they are. So we begin to do this profile. His daughter, had on social media about how he would do dad jokes all the time and how he had a lot of friends and he would be somebody that would help out a friend all the time. And so it seems like he had a lot of friends, and he has one daughter and the sister, which I have a lot of information from her. So he goes missing and they search for him. A storm comes in, so they have to stop the search, but then they do go back down and they spent a huge amount of time trying to find Roy. So the county really did a great job with the resources that they had and the time that they had to try to find him, and they couldn't find him with the information that they had from the phones and the backpack being where it was found and things like that. So at that point, probably around that time, we had found Miss Garcia only a few weeks before this. The family was told that if anyone else goes down there to search for them, that they're going to stop their search. And I thought, wow, that's odd. Why would you say that to the family? I mean, they're going through so much already. So nobody went down, although there were some people that searched for Roy, including Melissa Lane. And Melissa Lane went missing 3 months after Roy Prifogle went missing. And so Roy has never been found. Search and Rescue did a great job down in there. We've searched down in there. That does not mean he's not down in there, but no one has been able to find him. And since he has some cognitive problems, did he go down to that water? Did he get turned around and went on the other side, which we kind of looked at, but it is so thick that we don't know what happened to Roy. And that was March of 2020. So we're searching for him, and then the newspaper, and reading newspapers, a girl named Melissa Lane goes missing. And then I begin to hear and find out from Roy's sister that, they knew each other. Like they ran in the same circle of friends, and Melissa tried to find Roy. In fact, the sister comes in, the daughter comes in, the ex-wife, they all get together, including the person who deleted the text. They all get together and they go out to the lodge, which he, grew up, looked around there, looked around different places, and then they come back. And when they came back, his roommate finally says, oh yeah, he sent me a text. Like, they're out there searching for him and doesn't mention anything about it until they get back. And so the sheriff's they have spoken to her many times, and, she has spoken with them. When they first came, the sister was there and she just went in the shower. She didn't want to deal with the police, but she's like, listen, I guess she may have had a warrant out for her arrest or something. She didn't want to talk to them, because I remember the sister said, listen, man, take one for the team. And I thought that was funny. And so she came out, they interviewed her, they went through her phone and things like that. So when I heard about Melissa going missing in such a short time after Roy did, I wondered if they were connected in any way. And so I started looking into that. I spoke to Melissa's mother, and I spoke to the last person who was supposed to see her alive. Many articles are out there talking about him as a cousin. He was not a cousin. He was a half brother. His father married Melissa's mother. So they were half siblings. And so I thought, hey, if I could talk to him. And I did. I got him on the phone. He did talk to me. His demeanor was interesting to me because he talked very fast, not just like having a conversation. He just talked really fast about everything, and this is what happened. And I was like, okay. And so he told me this story that I can tell you because I spoke to him. And he told me that he had taken his girlfriend to work that morning, and this would be in May. And he came home, went back to bed, woke up, and Melissa's at the bottom of his bed and said, hey, I am just tired of my boyfriend. I can't take this anymore. Can you take me off the hill? Which is what the terminology is up here in Idyllwild, like, let's go off the hill. So he says, listen, I need more sleep, but yeah, I'm going on the Banning side towards the 10. I will take you down there. So he wakes up, she's not there. She's nowhere to be found. So he's like, whatever. He wasn't surprised by that. Melissa had some mental issues, and we'll get into that as we go a little further ahead here. So he got up, he got in his truck, and I believe it's the type of truck from his description that would have a cab on the back, but also have a window that goes between the cab and the bed. Because he said he got in and he said she scared the heck out of him because she jumped up. She was in the bed of the truck and he didn't know that. And she jumps up and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, he starts talking to her and she's like, shh, like putting her finger to her mouth, like, don't talk, because the birds have microphones. And that's where you start understanding her mental condition. The birds have microphones, let's not talk. So he says that he started driving off the hill, but that he was concerned about her. So he decided to go up this road called Black Mountain Road. It is, my friends laugh at me because it's a love-hate relationship I have with this road. It's very rough. It's 8 miles to a place that we used to go all the time. And it takes at least an hour to get there, but it's only 8 miles. He decides to take her up this road, remote type of road. There are people who go up there, but it's still quite remote, and to talk to her. And he thought that if he went up this road to talk to her, that she'd feel more comfortable because there wouldn't be traffic going by or no one would be there and they could talk privately. So he's going up this road and all of a sudden he hears this big bang. And he looks behind and she had jumped out of the back of the truck and the bang was, you know, the door coming down. And he says, what the heck? And so he says he had to go up further to turn around, which is true. And so he turned around, came back down and never seen her after that. So a couple other things that was quite interesting is that she wanted to go off the hill, but according to police records, her wallet, her purse, her cell phone, and things that women will always have with them was at her boyfriend's house. They weren't with her. Yet she wanted to go off the hill. So that was curious as to why they would still be there. Later on, years later, her boyfriend had some domestic violence issues going on with another girlfriend. And I don't know him or anything about him other than another girlfriend reported that. Then I find that the roommate of Roy's who deleted that message was once a girlfriend of the last person to see Melissa alive. It gets deep. The layers are just crazy. And so the boyfriend of Melissa and Melissa's half-brother and Roy and Roy's roommate, they're all in this one circle. And we have one guy that's the boyfriend who may have some domestic abuse issues. Her purse and everything is left there. And yet neither one of them are found. And yeah, that was the story. So I asked him to show me where she jumped out of the truck, where did he turn around, and he did mark it for me. So I went up later and was able to see the markings, where he put them and where he turned around and all that. And we did search that area to see if she may have gone into the woods. She is being described as somebody who loved to hike. And some of the articles I see out there is like, yeah, Melissa Lane went out hiking and never came back. And that's just not true. Her half-brother was the last person to see her alive. And there's also articles saying that he dropped her off at the base of Black Mountain Road. That's not true either. So a lot of misinformation is out there, in my opinion, only because I had the first knowledge of talking to the person to see her last. And she did search for Roy. And they're in the same circle.
First of all, well done. This is completely captivating, and I can see how this can make your head spin. So I commend you on delivering the information so the rest of us can comprehend it in a really logical way. You have put it together really nicely. I do have a question about the text message, though. I don't want to forget about this. You said that she deleted the text message and then they checked Roy's phone, they checked her phone. Does this text message exist anywhere, or is it just her saying that there was a text message?
No, I actually have a copy of that text message.
Oh, so there is an actual text message that she actually deleted.
Yes, but the police found it on her phone or Roy's phone, one or the other. They know about it, and that's how I got a copy of it. So I actually have a copy of that text. So that actually that is a fact.
Wow.
That it was near 1 a.m. I mean, I don't
That's
even know
so odd.
what would you do between 4:45 and 1 a.m. Like, what would you even do down in there? I can't understand that time lapse. The letters are very jumbled, but you can still make out what he was saying. So does that mean he was having, issues, medical issues? It just doesn't make sense to go back all the way down, because it's a huge hike up to get to his backpack if he's having medical issues. Was it just because it's dark? Maybe because there's other text messages that I have where he doesn't jumble his letters at all. So I don't know the reason for that.
Did he have his sleeping bag or a tent with him or anything like that?
No. To my knowledge, no. What I do know is that he had a snack. He had an empty juice bottle in his pack, his phone. That is, to my knowledge, that's what I know. So I don't know everything in there, but I never heard anything about a tent. And he wasn't going to spend the night down there. We know that. Because he did text and said, I'll be back in 3 or 4 hours, which is, whoa, that's a lot of time. That was odd for me too. I'm like, why would it take 3 or 4 hours? Like, even me, if I can get out of there in an hour, anyone can. So I was like, what would he need 3 or 4 hours for? I just thought that was very odd. It just some odd things in these cases that I can't explain, but feel like they could mean something. 1:30 in the morning, jumbled text, I'll be back in 3 or 4 hours, which is a long time. The roommate deletes the message the next day. It's just very weird. And actually it was a mechanic in town, I guess is a friend of them. His name is Bob. Her sister sent me, some day by day, this is what happened. She calls him Bob the mechanic, called her and said, hey, listen, I think you should come in here because I think Roy's missing. And now it's not the roommate calling the sister. It's, another friend calling the sister saying, I think you should come in here, Roy is missing. She's like, oh my goodness, that's when she makes a 911 call and they don't take it seriously. She didn't understand that if she said missing hiker, that it would have been taken more seriously. So that came later. But then Bob calls and says, hey, don't worry about it. Someone saw him at the Pine Cove Market around 6 o'clock. He's fine. So, wow, she is relieved. She's just like, oh, thank goodness, because she was worried because, the stroke and stuff. And then someone says he's missing. And so everything's okay now. And she takes her children to a movie. And then all of a sudden, Bob calls her back and says, that was just a rumor. He wasn't at the market at 6 o'clock. He's still missing. And she just got the kids and called his daughter and his ex-wife, and they all got together at his house, which also has the roommate living there as well. And so they all kind of gathered up. They went to the fire department to talk to them. And they were the ones who clued her in to say, yeah, you got to report this as a missing hiker, not a missing person. So that is how it got more serious and they started searching for Roy. And then one of our team members did speak to a detective and a sheriff. They had a meeting about this. This would have been early 2022. And he sent a report, which I can tell you what the police think. He basically said the sheriff's department believes both Roy and Melissa are deceased and their bodies remain somewhere in the Pine Cove, Idyllwild area. This belief is the foundation for most of the decisions they have made and will continue to make. And nothing I told them has changed their belief. So that's what he came back to me with. We asked a lot of questions to make sure they were fact or rumors, because it gets very difficult figuring that out in this town. And so one was about the bloodhound scent, because the rumor was that the dogs had a scent from the car and went to this abandoned building. And that's just not true. That was a rumor. So they basically said that there was no bloodhound scent leading away from Roy's car to a vacant house. The information was not true and might have been miscommunicated to his sister from this deputy. What really happened was a canine handler found a pair of Roy's gloves inside the car. The bloodhound used the gloves for a scent, but the scent never left Roy's car. The bloodhound did not track anything from Roy's car. The canine handler then proceeded to use the same gloves for a scent and took the bloodhound to several vacant houses in Pine Cove area and never picked up any scent at all.
That is strange. Now, does that imply, in your opinion, that Roy didn't park his own car at that point?
Well, that is a suspicion. I don't know. I didn't see the car, but people have told me that it was parked at an angle, like at a weird angle. It was near, because everyone knows everyone here, it was near, I believe, his boss's house. And it was just parked in an odd way. And I don't know the area as well as people who lived here all their lives, but when I saw where the car was left, I thought, couldn't he have gotten a little closer? Like, why would he park it here? He could have got closer to this trailhead. But the car was found, so that was a good point there. They debunked the seeing him at 6 o'clock at the convenience store. They talked about Melissa Lane. Melissa Lane was receiving EPT money every month prior to her disappearance, which was the bulk of her income that she lived on. Since the day of her disappearance, nobody has ever attempted to access her bank account or anything, and that's why they feel she, is deceased. The police said that his roommate was very forthcoming. And, the sister said, yeah, she didn't want to talk to him. They had to get her out of the shower. And one of the police were like, listen, man, we're going to stay here. You got to come out and talk to us. But they did say that she had moved a few times after that. And they did say she was cooperative and did talk to them. They said the police did take her phone and downloaded it. They obtained all of her phone calls and text messages. The police saw the text message from Roy at 1 a.m. claiming to be at the bottom of Webster Trail. The search and rescue unit conducted numerous pings on Roy's phone in an attempt to locate it, but not a lot of cell phone towers down in that area, so that made it difficult to triangulate it. When Roy's phone was used to send the text to his roommate, the phone identified an exact location, which is how they found it. Which is what I thought initially before I had this information, because it was in such a place that, whoa, they found this back in here, great, but that's how they found the backpack. They did write a search warrant for Roy's cell phone records, but the search warrant was rejected because there was no crime, is what they're saying. And then they did a second search warrant after our team members spoke to them to see if they could get records. I do not have information whether they got that or not. They have suggested, and again, I'm more about missing hikers, not on the crime end, but they did suggest to look into possible rewards from like Crime Stoppers or WeTip. They typically offer $1,000 to $10,000 reward for information. And I don't know if you guys have any insight on that, if other cases you've been on, if there's ever been rewards offered.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say that I know too many examples of the rewards being paid out, though. I have to.
Me either.
What do you mean by paid out? Like, so in this particular interest, it would be like there's a $5,000 reward for any information that brings us to the remains of Roy or Melissa. And so you've never seen...
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Okay.
That would be given to someone. But I guess we haven't covered too many stories where a tip or something brought by a civilian in a case where there was a reward, they were then given the reward. I can't think of one off the top of my head that we've covered.
Okay.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
And a thank you to our sponsors. Back to the program.
And then the detective told our team member that he couldn't have any copies of the reports on either Roy or Melissa. He told him they are open investigations and not subject to public view. When he said, but these cases could remain open for the rest of eternity. And he says, yeah, you're right.
Doesn't that sort of contradict why the phone couldn't be searched, though? Because if they denied the search warrant for the phone because there was no crime, how could law enforcement say that the case is open I guess the case could be open and there's no crime, right?
Right.
It's just a missing person still.
Right.
I see. But they said that they figured that they were dead. So I guess they could have been like, they could have succumbed to the elements or something like that.
Right.
No crime. Okay.
Right, exactly. So the purpose of going to the sheriff's department and having this meeting was to try to show them the crazy things, the crazy layers of these two cases and how we felt there could be possibility that they are connected. But it didn't change their minds. And then also it says they agreed to do further investigation based on the stuff mentioned above, but I was mentioned of how busy they are, and these cases are still listed as missing person cases with a low priority. I was told to be patient and not to expect anything to happen quickly. So there's that. I had thought at one point, and I think I put that in my email, that Melissa was labeled as homicide. But further investigation, I can't find that. And where I got that, I'm not sure. But it looks like that they're both considered missing people. And that's basically what he got out of that particular meeting.
Can I revisit the truck by the trailhead? And you said that you were curious why he parked so far away when he could have parked closer. Was it more like in sight of people where his vehicle was found? Like if he parked near in the trailhead, like closer to the trailhead, would have been more off-road?
Yes, so you would have to go off pavement road to get to the trailhead, and it was a cart, not a truck. And so maybe that was one reason that he didn't want to take it down in there. Again, I don't know the area that well, but I was shown where it was left, and there are homes there. A lot of times in this area, homes are just second homes to people, and they're not always full-timers. And I don't know about that in this area, but it is that way up here. So, if someone did park it there, was it at nighttime? I don't know. No one has been able to say when the vehicle was parked there. Like, yeah, I saw it at 2 or I saw it at 5. I'd never had that type of information. But obviously it was there at 4:45. That's when he took the pictures in that, of the water that we were able to get. So it just seemed odd. I was very happy to get some first information by the person who saw Melissa last. But no one is talking about this case, and it is a cold case, and it just is non-existent at this point. No one's saying their names. No one's talking about it. No one's investigating it. They just disappeared and they're gone. And, that becomes a problem for the families who don't know what to do. There is no book on what to do if a loved one goes missing. There is no ABC, do this, do this, do this. I mean, obviously, even the sister didn't know, just say he's a missing hiker, and that delayed a little bit of time. But it wasn't... The storm did come in at that point. It was freezing overnight. This was March in, a mountain town. So it did freeze overnight.
You said that you were able to locate the body of water, that area that was on the picture that he took. What was distinctive about that particular body of water that, one, he was compelled to take the picture, and two, you guys were able to make the connection?
Yeah, exactly. So we went down into this river. It's very small. I don't even know. I believe it's called a river. I think it's the North Fork River. But I mean, it's not like this really wide body of water. Maybe it is in some areas, but where we were at, where he went missing, it wasn't. And so we were determined to try to find that area, thinking it might help us find him. Like, what if we went back to that area, the same area, when he went back down for water? So what was distinctive, I guess we looked at the trees that were around it. It was also sort of a small area of water where it collected, like it was like a tiny pond. I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't just running. It was like a sort of pond coming down from these rocks. There was some trees that had fallen. So when we found it, we were like, this is it. I mean, we had the picture right with us. I'm like, this is it. This is where he was at 4:45. So we had that, but it didn't help us in finding Roy. Did
he have any other pictures of the area? I'm just wondering, like, what was so remarkable about that area that he took the picture in the first place?
That is a good question. And I pondered it. and I saw the groves, all the groves down there. And I thought, well, you need water for groves. Was he down there looking for a place to maybe create his own grove? I don't know. I can't say that's it. That was just my thought, because I couldn't figure it out either. Also, a few days before he went missing, he sent some pictures with no text at all, just pictures. And they were of old grow areas where some garbage had been left behind. And he sent them to this guy that I looked last night and I saw the name. I don't recognize the name, but a friend of Roy's. No text or anything, but pictures of the garbage left over from older grows.
Interesting. Now, was there any knowledge that he was a user of marijuana or a grower?
I don't know anything about a grower. I do know that the police did say that they had confirmed that he not only smoked marijuana, but may have been selling drugs. I've not heard that anywhere, and where or how they confirmed that, I have no information on. He's a very liked man. He, works with the fire department. Sometimes when there's a fire and he needs to cut down trees and things like that, he had a job and was helping everybody out that needed it. They'd come to his house, go in his refrigerator and eat, things like that. But at the end of the day, the report does say they had confirmed somehow that he was maybe possibly selling drugs.
That's interesting. I mean, that could maybe be a reason to mark that area with photographs. But I'm also just wondering, like, what if he just like sat down at the creek and smoked a joint or something, and then like thought that the view was more serene, to him than it would be to anyone looking at the pictures later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting view of the pictures. Mm-hmm. Because I couldn't come up with any explanation to that. I'm like, why would he take 3 pictures of this particular area? And it was where water would pond up. And that's why I thought, well, maybe he's looking for his own area to grow. But his sister was like, oh, he could have got it here. Why would he go through all that trouble? I don't know.
Right. I mean, and it's legal in California. There's certainly plenty of places to buy it at a reasonable price. But if you're looking to sell it, then, you're looking to make money on it. And that's kind of a much different scenario where you could sell it to the dispensaries or something like that, I would imagine.
That's true. And I don't know if it was legal at that time in 2020. I'm not sure when it became legal. That I'm not sure about. But we definitely found some grows down in there, which freaked me out immediately. And because, people die from walking into a grove, like, whoa, sorry. No, it's not good enough. I'm not going to say anything. Not good enough, man. They will shoot you on sight. And so that's when, it was kind of funny because that's the first thing I said was, whoa, is anybody carrying? And then one guy says, don't worry, I'll handle this. And it didn't make me feel any better at all. I was just like, yeah, human versus gun wins. So there was that. And then once we saw that Melissa went missing and she had been someone who knew Roy, she knew the person to see her last, she knew his roommate, his ex-wife, his sister and all that. And she goes missing. And then we ran into the groves and I'm like, we're done. Like, we are not going to search for him anymore. And, of course, I was very gentle about that with the family. I'm like, I can't take anyone down there anymore because it could be dangerous. And I can't do that. So they totally understood that part of it. And there was some good searches going on with search and rescue. They really did want to find him. And maybe some of them knew him. Since he did cut trees and stuff during fires and things like that, maybe some of them knew him, but they really did try to find him and did a great job with that. And there are rumors, and one rumor, again, it's a rumor, it was not factual, but I will tell you the rumor because it could possibly, if it's true, it could say a few things, but again, it is, I have it marked down as a rumor. So a few of these people were having a party at nighttime, drinking beer, and Melissa comes running up to these people, crying and very upset, saying that she saw Roy's body in this vacant house. and that is a rumor. But my thought on it, I'm not saying this is true, but my thoughts, because I'm trying to figure this out, is Melissa is definitely somebody that you couldn't keep quiet. If she knew anything about Roy's disappearance, that could be why she disappeared. Because she's not someone that you could, because of her mental state, you couldn't contain her not to say something if she knew something. It's just a theory. Interesting enough. So again, here's another layer. So Roy's roommate, who deleted the text, and Melissa's half-brother, who was the last person to see Melissa alive, after this whole thing happened with them going missing, they became girlfriend, boyfriend. It was just like, what? Now those two are together? I'm like, this is too much. I'm like, there's so many levels on here that's crazy. And so, yeah, it was just blowing my mind. I'm like, are you serious? Like, that's kind of crazy. Now, also her half brother was also into like Buddhism and stuff like that. But he was also jailed in Nepal for trying to bring drugs either in or out. So he has a little bit of a background as well. I've never met him. Could be the nicest guy on earth. I don't know. All I know is that the conversation was strange. And I tried to reach out to him again with no luck. But he just talked so fast. And I thought, well, was he on drugs or something? These are things I don't know. I don't know people on drugs. But the way he was talking so fast, as if it was like it just happened. And I'm probably not talking to him until, way later in 2021 when I finally got a hold of him. I never had any conversation with her boyfriend and have no intentions to. I really, since we just searched for missing hikers and that's what we do, but it's how we got into this case. And so I was really hoping that I could find maybe there's someone that would like to take this deeper, maybe somebody who likes these type of cases that would, talk to these people or something. Personally, I thought a reward might help because, well, if these people are doing marijuana and drugs, they might need money. Someone will talk. It's quite interesting because it is a small town and no one's talking. And usually rumors go all the time. But the connection between Melissa's boyfriend, which was friends with Roy, which is also friends with her half-brother, who was the last person to see her alive, they're all friends, all within this circle. And maybe it's just a coincidence that Melissa went missing 3 months after Roy. But there's a lot of crazy things in this story that doesn't make it seem straight up two missing people to me.
Did Roy have any money problems?
He didn't have a lot of money. I don't believe so, because I know his sister around this time had called him 11 a.m. about firewood. I think she was going to take him firewood that he was going to sell to people. So no, he didn't have a lot of money. He had a job, and I don't know what that job was or what he was doing. I think it was a type of job where if there was something that needed to be done, they would call him in to do the job. So I don't think that it was full-time, 40 hours a week, but if they needed help, they would call him and he would go. But I can't remember what that job was.
Wow, this is a crazy story here, Cathy. What are your next avenues here?
I really, honestly, because we only search for missing hikers, et cetera, really am not comfortable digging much deeper than what I already have. First of all, I don't want it to reflect my foundation, and it is a small town. If we're talking about somebody who might have domestic abuse, he could be dangerous. And I don't really want to get into all that, which is why I was hoping I'd find someone to be like, hey, I heard this podcast. This might be something I'm interested in, So my first avenue was to come on and talk to you guys and your audience to get maybe some feedback. But that's why I wanted to go with that. Now, in 2020, it was quite interesting in Idyllwild. There were a lot of people went missing in Idyllwild. The newspapers had people's pictures on there all the time of all these people that went missing. There was one young girl who went missing who was pregnant and ended up her boyfriend killed her. But they were saying it could be a serial killer. But each little case was different. Rosario Garcia was in there, and that's the case we took that we found her. Lydia Abrams is in there. Lydia Abrams is a huge story. You may have heard of her. She's a very wealthy woman, recently changed her, not a wheel, but something in that way. And then she ends up disappearing. The boyfriend living with her is suspected. And then somebody else later on dies on the property of suspected circumstances. And the police are all over that one. In fact, there's something else still going on with that. That was 2020. There was 2 other people, but they were found safe, thankfully. And then, of course, David O'Sullivan went missing in 2017. So there were so many missing people that, of course, well, then the people who live up here and also own businesses were very upset about these articles because this is a tourist town. And they get a lot of people coming up here, and no one's going to come up here if there's a serial killer. So there is a lot going on in Idyllwild in 2020 about all these missing people. Right now, there's a missing guy that has never been found. It's just crazy of all these missing people. But of all the missing people, Roy and Melissa just has that connection. They knew each other. They knew of all these people in this circle of theirs.
Really interesting stuff. And last question from me here. Is there, I know we talked about marijuana, but is there a big drug culture in that area? And I know that it's not a ton of population in that area as well, but are there other drugs? And I'm not trying to discount the danger of marijuana, because even if it is legal, it doesn't mean, some people wouldn't kill over the money that they would earn from it. Just curious about any other drug culture there.
And that I don't know. I don't believe so in Idyllwild. I don't see it. That doesn't mean it's not there. I don't see it. There's a lot of different people that live in Idyllwild. Some are amazingly wealthy people here. There's a lot of people up here who have second homes that only come up periodically. But it is a tourist town. A lot of people come up here. Then there is the Pine Cove area, which is a few miles outside. It's called Idyllwild Pine Cove. And I think it's possible there could be some things going there, but I cannot say as a fact there is, but I think it's possible. There's just so many layers in this, and I just didn't really know, we turned into a new year. So, as a new year comes in, I start looking at these cases we have open and stuff, and I'm going through my files, and I come across Roy's file that we have on him. And it just was like, man, this has never been solved. And neither has Melissa. Now, Melissa had just become a grandmother, and she was all over that. And her mother described her as being so happy, really wanting to turn her life around. She really wanted to do good by this grandchild, and it just meant everything to her. And then right after that, she went missing. Yeah, and it just seems suspicious that she wanted to go off the hill because she was upset with her boyfriend, but left everything at her boyfriend's house. Her purse, her keys, anything she had, which would have been any money or whatever she would have needed had she gone off the hill. Would she been oops, forgot all that stuff? Possibly, but women don't normally forget their purse. I mean, it's with them all the time. Usually it has things in there that they want, their keys, their cell phone, whatever, tissues, you name it. A woman would not typically leave a home without a purse. They might get to their car and say, oops, forgot my purse, but they're not really going to leave without it. And that was all found by the sheriff's office when they went to speak with him. So there's just some weird, suspicious things that I've never been able to really put together or have any answers. But because no one's talking about it, I wanted to bring it out, and just talk about the facts and not mention any names, but yet get the story out there.
And do you have any resource that people can reach out to if they have information on the whereabouts of Melissa and Roy?
Well, yes. The Hemet station in Riverside County, the sheriff's office, detective has a case there in the Hemet division. They could definitely call them and tell them if they have any information as to what happened to them. It would mean everything to the family if their remains could be found. And they would have answers. And also, if somebody did kill one or both of them, really don't want someone like that in society, because they will do it again. if something's not right, they're going to, they get upset with another girlfriend or something, and that person's going to disappear as well. So that, in itself, I thought was important. And for the families, because I work very closely with families anyhow, with missing hikers, and I know what they go through, and it's very tragic. And so I'm always, basically that's why I'm here. It's like the families don't have answers, and I wish they could have answers, but I'm not in the crime world and didn't really know where to take this, except for the two of you.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on here and sharing these stories with us. We appreciate your time and information and knowledge on these cases, and we will share it as far and wide as we possibly can. So if anyone has any information, they can call the Riverside County Sheriff's Office at 951-955-2450.
Yes, thank you. We need to get the buzz going again. We need people interested in these cases and interested in finding the answers.